All right, for today's lesson, we're going to be using the website that we've been using so far this year at explorelearning.com. You will find a Waves gizmo embedded in the classroom, so you should be able to access it through that. You're going to open up the Google Doc and you're going to complete the Google Doc as you complete your gizmo. So just like any of our gizmos, you are going to have a warm up. Right here where it says a buoy is anchored to the ocean floor, a buoy is just this picture over here. They have them floating out in lakes and oceans. It's just something that floats on the surface. So it's anchored, meaning it's tied to the ocean floor. A large wave approaches the buoy. How will the buoy move as the wave goes by? So they're talking about this picture over here. And then additionally, for your warm up, you have these two images here, and it just asks how are the two set of waves different. So then looking at our actual gizmo, guys, you're going to be changing a lot of different variables. You can turn the lights on and off. You can show the grid. You can show the rulers. There's a transverse option, amplitude, frequency, tension, and density. And you're going to be able to change these different things as you complete the gizmo. All right, so now that you've completed the warm-up of just kind of getting your general information activated in your brain, you're going to complete the warm-up where you're just getting used to changing the different variables over here in the actual gizmo, which I will show in just a moment. You have a couple different activities to complete. In activity A, you're going to be measuring waves. Then in activity B, we're going to look at wave dynamics. So we're going to be looking at things like the wave speed. We're going to be looking at the effect on wavelength. And so when I say wave dynamics, I'm talking about the different features of the wave. And then you're going to round that out by really kind of comparing what happens as you change the different variables. Okay. So a couple of things that I just want to point out as you go through the gizmo. Again, you can turn the lights on and off. Oftentimes where they're asking you to look at the green dot and the motion of the green dot, they'll tell you to turn the lights off because it's going to leave a trail for you to look at. Okay. So when you look at something like the transverse wave and they're asking you to measure either amplitude, which is from this resting point of the hand to its highest point, or this resting point to the lowest. So when it's asking you to measure amplitude or maybe wavelength, you're going to go ahead and hit play. And you'll notice that the green dots go up and down. My advice to you when they ask you to measure that is to pause it when you get the entire span. You're going to show rulers. And then a lot of times students don't realize this. You can actually drag the rulers over to the green dots to measure it. I'm going to give you a hint. We're not looking at little teeny tiny decimals. We're looking at these whole numbers, 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. Okay. What you'll notice is when you switch out your wave and do longitudinal and you hit play, now you're going to see the green dot go left and right. So when it's asking you to measure that, same idea, click pause, and then you'll drag that ruler over so you can measure and see what's going on. Okay. When it asks you to show the grid, again, it's just kind of showing you some of the numbers that are there. Couple other things to point out. You're going to want to hit reset to get it back to where you want it to be. There's a couple of moments where it's asking you to explain the wave speed or the power of the wave. So when you go through and you change, let's say the amplitude, and I'm making this up right now, the density, you're able to see the wave power listed for you right over here. Okay. So looking through the gizmo, at the beginning, you're going to make sure that you have a transverse wave going on, and it will tell you what to set each of those four factors to: your amplitude, your frequency, and then it will tell you whether or not the lights should be on or the lights should be off. Okay. It will tell you when to click play and pause. It will explain to you when you should measure. All of these vocab words were talked about in the reading from yesterday. So when they talk about measuring between the crests or the high points or the troughs and the low points, okay, looking at our transverse wave again, and I click play, we're talking about from a high point to the same high point over here. That would be your wavelength, or a low point to a low point. So really make sure that you're paying attention to those vocabulary words. Then you'll go in and you'll move it, and you'll start looking at the wavelength of each thing, the amplitude. Again, the amplitude is the maximum distance, okay, from the resting point. So when I look at this, the resting point is where the hand starts, right? This is where it starts. And then when I click play, this is the highest point that it is. So we're going to be measuring from its resting point up to the highest point. So it's half of the total height, okay? For the most part, it's pretty straightforward what it is that you're supposed to complete. For each of these boxes, you're going to tell me, what happened to the wavelength? Did it make it larger or smaller? The effect on wave speed. Did it make it faster or slower? For here, you're going to be changing amplitude. Then you're going to be changing frequency. Then you're going to be changing tension. Then you're going to be changing density. And for those, make sure that you keep everything else what it should be. And then just record the power, okay, in that final column. Good luck. Do the best you can. I will see you guys on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend.